Hello everybody, welcome back to PSGL Tier 3. It's been a week, we've had a little week off, a little spicy little break so everybody could enjoy the Formula 1 action kicking back up in real life. But we're back into the European rounds now. We're not in any more Saudi Arabias or any more Bahrains. Nope, we ourselves are heading to the Red Bull Ring in the wonderful Austrian hillside. My name is George, I'm joined by Alex once again, your regular suspects for PSGL Tier 3. And hopefully we can have another regular suspect type race where things are equally as popping and bussing as they always have been, Alex.
Hopefully, yes. We'll talk about Austria, obviously, as it's the track. It is one of the... I think it was one that's has become more difficult as the games have gone on, specifically with F122 with the curbs and stuff, the curbs and the track elevation. All the traction's so much more sensitive. So it's so much more easy to make a mistake or spin, and so yeah, I think for sure we'll see drivers caught out by that today.
Yeah, the curbs have been a bit of a problem, especially with these newer cars as well. Obviously, you have way less forgiveness when it comes to the curbs generally in these cars, so you're not really going to have the same amount of allocate. I think we're having a host change, by the way. I see people dropping out of the session and throwing themselves into walls. You want to just check on that for me? I'm just literally glad I didn't flick it over to the game just yet because it seems there is something going on. But yeah, like you're saying, the curbs on this track are so bloody ruthless as well. Especially when it comes to like turn 1, turn 3, even as far down into the second part of the lap, you go towards turn 9. Sometimes that inside curve can be a bit of a problem too. So yeah, it's a great track for that aspect. Obviously, with it being only 10 corners, you get very, very tight amounts of racing, very tight amounts of lap time. Something was going on with the session, so I think it's being restarted. So
Yeah,
I'm not sure what's gotten in there. Okay, good.
Not sure the specific reason, but we are restarting.
Woo!
Seems to be starting to become a regular thing here at PSGL F3. So hopefully you guys aren't taken back by that.
At least it's not as bad as it was like last time out.
Yeah.
Right? Remember where we were halfway through the session, it was like, maybe we should restart, and then we did.
No heartbreaks this time.
Yes, no heartbreaks this time, thankfully. But yeah, I'm very excited to be back. It's been an interesting season so far, and I think it's going to continue to be an interesting season. I think this would be probably a good time to actually take us through, more than anything, what's been happening this season up to this point. We've had a week off. You know, people have relaxed. Our brains have relaxed. We've forgotten about the things that have been going on. Why don't we just have a quick recap of where things have been at? We've obviously had a very tumultuous season in terms of people going up and down throughout the standings, some promotions and relegations, and people being made into full-time drivers. But as far as I'm aware, we've got standings to have a look at, PC Tier 3 standings. It's been an interesting season. Take us away.
Yes, so we kicked off with a lovely battle between some of the faster drivers in the league, where Lillian, after a bit of chaos, came out on top, followed by, we had round 2 Singapore, where Nitro Shooter had the battle with Lillian all the way until the end before winning due to a lovely safety car restart. Noel Carmen, we should talk about him before we get onto France. He's been consistently up there as well. He's got 2 podiums. One of them was in France, where Lillian absolutely dominated his home Grand Prix, and he's currently leading the championships by 19 points. So he's looking very comfortable so far this season. 2 wins, 1 second place. It can't really have gone too much better for him, in all honesty.
No, he's on some great form.
Play.
Yeah, great form. Max Verstappen-like form, really, where it's like you win or you come second, or that's it, really. You don't really have any other options. Lillian so far, class of the field, definitely safe to say. You also mentioned we had a couple of good performances from Nitro Shooter, but definitely in his instance, completely feast or famine. It's either a win or it's DNF or a low point score. But there's been a couple of drivers who have kind of featured here and there, done bits, not DNF'd in some races, and then being big protagonists in others. I mean, even just looking into this, we've had some faster drivers who have shown that they've got pace, and it just hasn't really materialized. So now we're getting off that break. I expect to see a couple of drivers now really start to kick into gear. I'm looking at the likes of Rishan Jacobs. I'm looking at the likes of Liam Stevens. These are all people who've shown us that they have the potential to do really, really well in this championship. I'm looking at even people like Miltos Karafalidis, who's been always there or thereabouts, but never quite broken through. Sven Schumacher always had great poor qualifying performances, but great early race pace. These are the type of people that I want to start seeing breaking through now into that kind of upper echelon, contending with the likes of Lillian, Noel Carmen, Nitro Shooter, Andre Lopez, those kind of drivers who've been dominating and have really been the class of the field so far.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's time, to start being more consistent. We're getting into the mid stage of the season now, so they really need to start picking up the points if they want to have any shot at looking at first in the championship, or even just being up there. I mean, we've had some unlucky drivers as well. I think Rishan is one of those. He's only in 7th at the moment. It is, to be fair, it's very close there, but I do feel like he could have certainly got at least a few more points in races if he'd just done things slightly differently or taken things a slightly different way.
Yes.
He's one of those that could definitely be doing a little bit better.
Yeah, not picked up so many penalties in some instances as well. That would be one for Rushan. Seems to have a bit of a magnetism towards getting those penalties. But I think now we're actually going to be getting into it, so we'll take a quick look at the track map and see what this... that's Australia, that's not Austria. Okay, ignore me then. We won't take a look at the track map. I'm just out here smoking the good pack, I guess. Yes, anyway, Austria. Talk to me about that, and then I'll try and get the right asset up, shall I? And that might be a way to go about it. Austria, I think, great track.
I completely agree.
Got it this time.
I'll let you talk through us then.
It's not much. It's only a little short 15-second type thing before we get out onto the track. But yes, only, I think, 3 DRS zones on this track. Front straight, second straight, and then a straight after the first... after turn 3. Turn 2 doesn't really exist on this track either. It's one of those, like, pseudo turns that people seem to acknowledge but don't acknowledge. Great, what's going on now? My whole, like... There we go. Game capture wants to work. Beautiful. Okay, so, technical problems aside and incorrect assets aside, we're good to go. We're happy and we're into the session. But yes, 3 DRS zones on this track, and I think often DRS can make league racing a little bit boring. I don't know how you feel about this. And especially on a track like this as well, in which DRS is ultimately going to be super important. You're probably going to see some people playing a game of chicken on the DRS line. You're probably going to see people hanging back until the very last laps to make their overtake. It's going to be a very interesting state of affairs, but all the overtaking is pretty much going to be done under DRS at this track.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's so powerful, and especially because you've got it on the start-finish straight, and then one corner later, especially on it's one high-speed corner later, on the back straight, I want to call it. Yeah, no, the main straight, whatever the names are. Anyway, then you've got a third one, straight after that again. So it's 3 DRS straights right after each other, and then you're in a high-speed section in the middle, so there's not really too much time to lose places. The DRS is essentially, it's going to give you such an advantage because it's there for the whole, pretty much half of the circuit.
Yeah, that's it. In terms of overall time under DRS, it is actually a really large percentage. I think Monza doesn't even have that much time under DRS by comparison to this circuit. 3 unique DRS zones is high for any circuit. Most circuits only have 2, or in some cases just the 1. And as such, you get very, very low lap times on this track. We've already set a 1:04.2 from Lillian. That will be pretty much the benchmark I imagine that people will be targeting, but a great lap in rebuttal from Menno. And there we have Miltos also firing in a 0:04.237. So we're starting to see that this is going to be a very hotly contested qualifying session with people putting in lap times very close to one another. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, when there's only 10 corners on the track, that means there's also less places to make up time. Yep.
I remember, what's his name? Ben. I can't remember his last name. I always forget his last name, but Ben, the old BBC F1 commentator, he said Austria is a track that's so easy to lose time, but so difficult to gain it. And he's very right. Because it's such a short circuit, because it's such a fast circuit, it's so difficult to get faster. But so easy to then lose the time that you do gain. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting one in that sense. I do think it's, in terms of racing, it's 50-50. It can give you better overtakes, but it can also be too not easy, but what's the word? It's too almost simple to form that sort of overtaking strategy, because the amount of DRS. As soon as you're there. There's no necessary sense of speed that you have to have. It's more just maintaining that gap for a lap. If that makes sense. Sorry.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, for the time being as well, we're currently looking at a grid here so far, which is already covered by, well, the first 12 places covered by 0.3 of a second, as good as 3.5 of a second. So that is also, again, testament to that thing that you just mentioned about how hard it can be to find time on this track. And I think further to your point on that, like I say, you are absolutely spot on with it. But also, when drivers are starting to push the envelope then of what really is where you are able to find time on this track, where the time is to be gained, how far you can stretch the limits of the track, how far you can stretch the rules of the racing. It's where this track can often become a bit of a problem. You get a lot of people picking up a fair amount of penalties on this track because it A, has pretty high speed corners that want to wash the front end of the car out wide, so that can cause you some problems. And B, the other thing as well, it's pretty narrow in many parts, and you can run out of some road, and you can cut the corner too much on turn 1, or you can do the same on the exit of turn 7, I'm going to say it is, maybe turn 8, just on that inside curve. So you can have a few problems with track limits, and that's all under that umbrella of pushing the envelope for what really is just a few milliseconds worth of time.
Yep. I mean, yeah, it's difficult in that regard. I think, yeah, it's more difficult in other circuits as well in that sort of sense. Because as you said, you know, with high-speed corners like 7 and 8, it's just so easy to just push that a little bit too hard. But it definitely, it creates a sense more, you know, on the line. You know, you've got to be completely on the edge of the pace, otherwise you're going to fall behind, which I do quite like about this track. So yeah, it's an interesting one. But what about Menno in P10 at the moment? He has just started his second flying lap, exiting turn 1 at the moment. Going down turn 2, which is again not the real corner, heading into turn 3, shifting into 3rd gear, and I expect a short shift. Oh, actually, yeah, short shifting to 4th, 5th, as he exits turn 4 or 3. Sorry, I'm already getting the corners confused. Into turn 4 now, one where you're going over the curbs a lot, taking the Williams up the hill. And then down the hill as he goes through the curved section, through the middle sectors. It says he's going purple, not sure if he is. Going through approaching the final 2 corners now. We'll see what he does as he just slightly missed the apex there, going through the final corner now, getting the traction down, opening the DRS, and we'll see what he sets. It's enough for P8, so a bit of an improvement.
Yeah,
could have been better.
Fractional improvement there from Menno, but like you say, yeah, was a bit wide of the apex on a few corners. Didn't really meet his match as per se on the entry to some of those, especially through those faster complex of corners, turns 6, 7, 8, and 9. He was all kind of a bit all over the place there. Didn't quite make it. Directly hustled into the curb as much as he would have wanted it to be. But speaking of hustling it into the curb, that is an obliteration. The first man to enter into the 103s. It's a 103.989 from Lillian. Caught the tail end of that lap, and it looked very, very tidy, especially through turn 9 and 10. Absolutely nailed it on the inside, kept as much minimum apex speed as possible, and all in all, looked very, very clean as Matteo Longay in the other Alfa Romeo slots in to head up the second row now, just behind the Ferrari of Klaffenbach.
That is an insane lap time from Lillian. I was not expecting that. I was expecting the 103s for sure. That shows how rapid he is, genuinely. Julian Klaffenbach, not too far behind him though, to be fair. He's less than half a tenth away. Andreas Franco just comes across the line to also set a 104 flat. As Jack Humphreys as well, a bit of a surprise that he got a podium in Singapore, Spain, I can't remember exactly which one. He's now in second place with, again, a 104 flat. Rapid times. They really are really pushing the car to the complete limits. Who else is on a lap? Andre Lopez is not. Yes, he is.
He is, actually, yeah.
He is, actually. Sorry, yes, I thought his ERS was Drew Jennings. Going through, at least approaching the split for the final sector, currently 2/10 up. So that's going to put him almost around the P2 mark if he can just gain a little bit more in the final 2 corners. Going down, I think, turn 7. I honestly can't remember the corner names, but heading towards the final corner, getting the power down as quickly as possible, using all the track, trying not to exceed Lovely exit, and we'll see what he does. He crosses the line. It's enough for P3.
Oh,
Mere thousandths, only 3 thousandths from P2, but it's insane how close everyone is. It really is.
less than a tenth covers the top 5 currently, Alex. That's really crazy. That is really crazy. But yes, still only Lillian, after the second runs have ceased, that is in the 103s. That was a really good lap from Andre Lopez. We caught the middle and end sectors. Of course, though, most of the time gain, weirdly enough, is off the slower corners of the track, and the middle and final sector of this circuit, both very, very fast.
Yep.
So your big time gainers are basically exit turn 1, can be very important if you can nail the amount of curb you take on the inside without upsetting the car. Same again on the outside curb. You don't want to ride that exit curb at all because it will throw you quite aggressively out of the track limits. And again, on the start of that lap as well, turn 3, the traction out of turn 3 is difficult. I struggle with it, and I'm not very good, so that might be the reason why. But irrespective of that, turn 3 is a nightmare because it's slightly off camber. It falls away to the inside of the track. You're slightly going uphill ever so slightly off the incline of the corner. You're in third gear. You kind of want to be in fourth or even just grabbing fifth quite early to stop the wheels from spinning up too aggressively. It can be a real killer if you don't nail it, and that's where all the time is. So it's going to be interesting on these final runs that are starting to come out now to see where people are going to be at with these tyres. I might even be having an extra run at this, actually. Do you get 4 sets of tyres in short
I was just thinking that. Julian Klappenbach has just gone out, so...
Yeah, so is Lillian.
Yeah, you can get 4 tyres if you go the softer tyre allocation. Lillian...
That's probably what's going to be done here, to be honest, because tyre deg is pretty low around this track too.
Yeah, that's true. We'll talk you through Lillian's lap now, exiting turn 1. We'll see how much he can improve. He took it very cleanly. Well, I mean, there's only really the first sector that is that one corner. He's gained 5 thousandths from turn 1. Heading through turn 3 as he gets a little snap of oversteer there, just slightly losing the car. You've mentioned it's a very difficult corner with the traction. You saw him short shift to 5th to try and combat that, so you might have lost a little bit of time there. We'll see as he heads through turn 4 now, hitting the apex. Probably could have taken that a little bit more as he completely gets oversteer on the exit, and that is the lap over. So we'll quickly cut to Julian Klappenbach, who is starting his flying lap. Now we'll see if he can challenge Lillian at the front. At the moment, no, he is 200ths down on his time, so it needs to get quite a bit. Although, to be fair, again, that is only one corner, so not too much that you can really tell from that. But heading into turn 4 now, using all of the track as he can, hitting the apex, getting the exit curb, not oversteering like Lillian did, heading towards turn 5. Yes, turn 5, sorry. Going, again, using all of the track, going on the curb. He has his wheel over the white line. He's currently about half a tenth up, so this will be enough to take pole. He has gone purple in the middle sector as he's approaching the final couple of corners into turn 7. Now, how much is he going to risk it? How much time is he going to be able to take? He takes it beautifully, and this is the final corner now, getting the power down, using all the track. He's going to cross the line. Is it going to be good enough? It is going to be good enough.
Oh, yes.
3.898. That's a stunning lap from Julian Klappenbach. We'll see Andres Franco coming across the line. He goes 6 thousandths faster. Not enough to gain in position, but a little bit in terms of time. But that is a stunning lap by Julian Klappenbach. Julian, we saw getting pole in Spain. We know he's a quick driver, and he's clearly showing that today.
Yeah, really, really good lap there from Klappenbach. I think Lillian is having a second stab at this as well, by the way. Is only 900ths off on the time currently, and another moment of oversteer coming out of the exit at turn 8. I think this will be into the pits for Lillian. Yep. As I think he realises that he's not really going to be particularly high on time going into the end of this session. Would just like to have the opportunity to get his final run all put together. As it stands, though, great lap coming out of Klappenbach. Really needed to spice up the front of the field here. I think Andre Lopez is also on a lap as well. And I think if I read that correctly, he's about 700ths of a second up on his previous best time as well. So this could be front row material if it continues on with this pace. Yellow flags being waved as we enter into turn 6 now for Andre Lopez. Now just going down the hill, careful not to snatch too much curve on the outside. Turn 7, don't take it too tight, don't run too wide into turn 8. Perfectly done, but it is an invalidation anyway. Just ever so slightly over the white line. That lap is over, and he will be coming into the pits as a result of all that.
Yep, he's lucky that he's got enough time to do another lap there, so not completely over just yet. We'll have a look at No,
So
we
one
went
man
up
on
like
track.
Ian Nunes on his own lap. Yeah. Oh, mind you, we have a Red Bull coming out of the pits, and we have a Haas coming out of the pits as well. So
I think that's
the
both Red Bulls
final.
actually going into the pits because Corn de Vaca was also heading in with
Oh.
Andre Lopez.
I am not keeping up with them. To be fair, they make it quite difficult to tell, but you know what? Doesn't matter. Nitro Shooter on his outlap now. He is currently in P6. Nitro Shooter won in Singapore. We'll see if he's going to be able to win in Austria. I mean, he's very close to P3, even P2 with Lillian, if he can gain about a tenth. I can't see him getting pole. I think it's too big of a gap. Honestly, I think pole is now between Klaffenbach and Lillian. But you know what? To be fair, crazier things have happened. It could be anyone. It could be anyone.
To be honest, I think it could be with anybody who's currently in the top 6. I think they've all exhibited that if they can get into those low sub 1/10 104s, there's definitely room for them to get into the 103s. And we know that a lot of these guys are all working with similar pace as it is.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have suggested there's going to be too much crazy. And obviously all the lap times at the moment, top of the field to the bottom of the field is just under half a second. So this is it's been a crazy qualifying session. I mean, if you just take out Felipe Sousa and just leave it at Ian Van Unen, it is 0.4 of a second, essentially, from the top of the field to the bottom of the field. This is testament to A, how close this field is, and B, how is
He's doing a second outlap.
doing a second outlap?
Yeah, because the fuel is quite high on this track that you
Right.
could have given.
Oh yeah,
so.
he's just holding in 5th gear. Right, you are. Very well observed. Yes.
What about Julian Klaffenbach even? He's about to cross the line. Oh, he's in the final sector at least. We'll see if he does the same. I don't think he will. I don't know if he's going to have enough time or wants to risk it. No, he's not. He's switched on the ERS. He is going for it. Julian Klaffenbach, final run at pole position on the main straight. He's got the DRS open. He's going to hope for a clean run into turn 1, which you know what he's got. He's going on the curb perfectly. Goes next to the curb, but he does slightly have to correct it. Probably losing maybe a few thousandths, even a few hundredths there. Don't know exactly, but we'll see the delta as he comes across the split. He's currently 300ths down in his time. That's not going to be what he wants. And he misses the apex as well for turn 3. Well, he hits it, but he could have gone a little bit more, and he does abandon that lap. So he is going to do another outlap. Andre Lopez, I think, is about to start his final flying lap. We'll see as he opens his DRS, and hopefully he can get a better run through turn 1 than Julian Klaffenbach just did. Never mind.
Is the answer there. Everybody had his fun.
Jack Humphries, can he get a better run through turn 1? Going through, he goes on the curb, goes on the exit. You know what? It's not half bad. Well, it's not bad at all. As he goes towards turn 3, we'll see the split again. He crosses the line 3 thousandths down, so he is up there with his time at the moment. Keep an eye out as well on the mini-map for drivers like Lillian, Andre Lopez even, and Julian Klaffenbach as they do their laps later on. But we'll talk about Jack Humphries as he's approaching the middle sector. And there is a bit of traffic, so hopefully he doesn't get caught out by this or too distracted by this. Distractions can be such a big thing in this game. So hopefully they're not going to be affected too much as he comes through the middle sector. Going into turn 6, the Haas gets out of the way very nicely, and he is currently 600 up. It is a purple in the middle sector. Is this going to be good enough for P2? Is it going to be good enough for pole position? We're going to see as he comes through the final 3 corners now. Jack Humphries through turn 7, through turn 8. He's going to get the power down as quickly as possible. He does. He uses all the track. He's going to open the doors. Is it going to be enough for pole position? It's only P2 for Jack Humphries. That was a horrible voice crack, and he's not far off, to be fair. Julian Klaffenbach is going to be approaching the middle sector. I'll let you take us through it.
Yeah, Klaffenbach just a bit wide of the apex again there at turn 4, and he's now going to have to try and rescue this lap as best he can. Now turn 5, barely even a corner. Turn 6 now, the left-hand kink much tighter into the apex than Jack Humphries was on his run, using all the track on the entry into turn 7 and again into turn 8, but gets a slight moment on the rear, and I think that's going to be it for Klaffenbach. I don't think he's got anything left to go for on this lap. Now we'll switch over to Lillian. Much better exit from turn 8. Now trying to look towards turn 9 more aggressively. Going to throw it in, try and take a bit of curb on the inside. Risk it all, why not? There's nothing left else to play for. As it is the exit turn 10, it's a huge tank slapper onto the grass, and that's not going to be the lap time that Lillian was looking for. And as such, I feel that might be all she wrote. There is still Nitro Shooter to come across the line. Remember, he took 2 opening laps to get onto these tyres, get them in the window, get the fuel down. Then he's... Oh, no, I think he threw it all the way at the final corner there, or turn 9, because on the entrance from the TV cam perspective, he was absolutely hauling. But it seems that that's not going to be the case, and even Andre Lopez has invalidated his lap as well. So, it seems that on that final run, the only improvements were Menno Nielsen, who ended up coming in just 5 thousandths of a second away from the 103s, and Julian Klaffenbach stays where he was, with Jack Humphreys ascending into P2. It could be the fly in the ointment there, the McLaren, because so far this season, Lillian and Klaffenbach have been going blow for blow, but if Humphreys can get involved, this could be a very spicy race.
It will be. What a stunning lap by Julian Klaffenbach. It wasn't even his final one. Yeah, I honestly, it amazed me. Jack Humphreys as well, getting very close there. Even Lillian as well, very close behind as well. It's going to be, I think, a stunning race, in all honesty. These guys are all so quick, and that's them pushing on the limit. So, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to have, but it's going to be good.
Yeah, well, it's the Austrian driver, Julian Klaffenbach, who takes pole position on his home Grand Prix, followed by the Australian Jack Humphreys and the Frenchman, last time's winner and current championship leader, Lillian, to round out your front three. You got Menno Nielsen, who's going to be taking up the back of the second row, with Andre Lopez heading the third row just behind, with Andras Frenko making a great return after a pretty disappointing run last time out, if I recall correctly. It was like promising to be good, and then it all went away. You then have Nitro Shooter rounding it in 7th, Miltos Karafalidis in 8th, Dehar Demircioglu coming in 9th, and Matteo Longe rounding out your top 10 here at the Austrian Grand Prix. This is going to be one hell of a race. Let's hope the weather is good. I mean, even if it's not, Austria has proven time before that it can be very, very good when it comes to wet weather racing.
Oh, I love a wet race. It's not,
dry.
though. Dry. Wow. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Trying to remember other starts. I can't remember anything specific. I know Julian Klaffenbach was ahead in Spain. I think he led after that, so we'll see if he's able to do the same in Austria. Time 1, there's not too much of a run, and it is uphill, which does add a little bit towards how much throttle you can put down. But it's a difficult one to go for time 1 moves, in all honesty, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. We've got 25 seconds.
Yes, it's going to be a very exciting race out here in the Styrian hillside. It is Spielberg, I believe, is the area of Austria that this track resides in. I think it's gone through a number of names in its history. Obviously, the Red Bull Ring being most recent, but it used to be called the A1 Ring, I think, as well. And obviously before that, Österreich Ring, which is like Austria Ring, essentially. But it's always pretty much had the same circuit configuration of about 10 corners. Obviously, now in these modern F1 cars, a lot of those corners are negligible, but this start absolutely will not be. It is 5 red lights, and it is any second now that we're about to be away to the races. It is Julian Klaffenbach who gets off well from P1, but it's still not covered off yet. On the inside, Jack Humphreys having a pretty polite little look as Lillian tries to keep it all civil towards the back of the field. Everyone's squabbling for position out on the exit of turn 1, but for the time being, it seems that everybody has made it through smoothly. Klaffenbach now climbing up the hill. Lillian all over the back of Jack Humphreys' gearbox, with Menno Nielsen sliding it up the inside of turn 3 as well. Not unfortunately going to get the exit he wanted. With being on that inside, the track is just cambered away from you ever so slightly. Still hanging it in there though, to go up the inside at turn 4 potentially. Well, he's put it through. The Williams is stiffing it out with the Alfa Romeo around the outside. Now again, keeping it side by side through turn 5. That's going to leave Lillian with the inside into turn 6. But again, oh no, it's carnage. Oh, Jack Humphreys has had an accident and it's taken out Lillian. I'm not sure what's happened there, but now there's more going on. I think that's going to be Miltos Karafalidis, who's been spun round by a Red Bull of Andre Lopez. It's all kicking off at the back in the front of the field, and all of a sudden, on the opening lap here in Austria, that's given Klaffenbach a 1-second lead. What carnage in the opening minutes.
Wow, what a start. I'll try and give you what it looked like. I can't remember exactly if it was Lillian or if it was Menno. I think it was Lillian. He went slightly into the back, or touched the back of Jack Humphreys, and just sent them both round. So, very unfortunate for those two guys. At least they're not, but it's not at the very back. They do still have a bit of position. They're going to still be in the DRS train if they can be. Jack Humphreys already looking to make a position on Noel Carmen. But yeah, no, very unfortunate for both those guys. And Julian Klaffenbach, though, has now got a 1.1 second lead. Last race, Lillian led pretty much every single lap. We could be seeing the same for Julian Klaffenbach here. Menno only 1.1 behind. Behind that is Nitro Shooter, has a very good start. He's already gained 4 positions. Then behind Andre Lopez, followed by Matteo Longe, Dehard Demircioglu, Andres Franco, Kondebacker, Felipe Sousa, and Liam Stevens is your top 10. Felipe Sousa gained 8 positions, by the way, so mad respect to him.
Yeah, what a stonking start that is for Felipe Sousa. That's really, really strong. Let's have a look what tyre compound everyone's on. So everybody on the hard tyres here. Nobody has gone for those medium tyre starts or anything like that. Something happened to Benny Farbos as he is into the pits. Right, must have damage then. He's gone for the mediums.
He's not changing his front wing. That's a bit interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there for Benny Farbos. Unless there's some sort of super secret 33 lap strategy on the mediums I don't know about. Not really sure that's the one. We'll see what plays out. I don't know. Maybe he's anticipating there'll be a safety car or something. Maybe it's just too big brain that we can't see it yet. But meanwhile, back at the front, Klaffenbach has cleared off. If you remember, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago, we had another situation in which Menno Nilsson was kind of on the back of the leading group and just not quite able to bridge the gap towards the leader. And as such, it looks like he's going to be kept in another similarly unfortunate position again for the Dutchman, because the Austrian is clearing off at his home Grand Prix. Nearly 2 seconds his advantage now after just 3 circulations of the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, I mean, what is it about the home drivers? Last race, leading pretty much every lap, and we might see Julian do the same. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, looking very confident. He's already got 2 seconds. That man is rapid. Menno has also got a little bit of pressure from Nitro Shooter, who is within DRS, and it is a DRS train starting to form all the way to about 10th place. So that's not going to be good for Jack Humphries or Lillian at all. But yeah, Julian Klaffenbach has clearly got mad pace and is very much wanting to show it.
Yes, clearly got mad pace comparative to the field at the moment. As you can see, though, there's already a penalty being issued here to Andras Franco for multiple track limits violations in these opening 4 laps. That's 3 of them, and he's got himself a 3-second penalty to match. So I don't doubt that we're going to see quite a few more of those. Turn 8, especially when these tyres start going off, is when you're going to see people running out onto that inside curb a bit too much. Turn 9 as well, one of those. Turn 10, definitely. You take too much exit curb on the outside. You've got maybe somebody trying to jostle for position with you. You're driving in your mirrors. It can go very badly wrong. So for Andras Franco, yes, he's got an early penalty. He's going to have to drive a bit cleaner now for the remaining part of this race. But not to fret, because I do not doubt that there will be more penalties coming for the majority of the drivers on the grid. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Speaking of time, though, that's something that Andres Lopez is not interested in giving to Nitro Shooter. Climbing all over the gearbox of the Haas at the moment, currently setting a purple first sector. Maybe using a little bit of ERS whilst inside of this DRS train, but got a little bit too close for comfort on the entry to turn 3, and that's lost him that time that he'd made up.
Yeah, but it happens, I guess, if you're taking those risks of being close up to the guys ahead. But not to worry, as he's still very close. Yeah, Andre wanting to get past as quick as he can. Nitro Shooter as well, he's going to just want to sit behind Menno. There's not really any point in overtaking. I mean, why is there? You're just going to get overtaken back? I remember the first race I commentated, it had Rishon winning when he led pretty much the entire race in Austria. He was sat in second for almost the entire race of Austria, ready to pounce on the final lap. Fortunately, he didn't get to do that due to an incident, although he's not actually racing today, so we're not going to see any of that sort of magic from him. But yeah, it's one of those tracks where, as we said like before, we emphasised how important the DRS is. He's just happy to stay behind and make these moves later on.
Yeah, I think he will be. I think also here with how much we'd preface at the top of the show, like you're saying, just how good DRS is here as well. You want to kind of hold on to that for as long as you can, because whilst you are not overtaking, you're also not likely to be attacked by Andre Lopez behind, because he's not going to be able to have any additional pace over you that you don't already have on somebody else. Benny Farbos' race goes from bad to worse. He's pitted twice already, and he is now 43 seconds behind the field with a 3-second penalty, so don't know what's going on there. I'm not sure I want to know either.
Yep, I thought he has changed the front wing on that one, so he probably just forgot to change the setting to make it change the front wing, which is very unfortunate. He's got no ERS. He's going to be at the back of the field. He needs a safety car before he gets lapped.
I won't put it out of the question, to be fair.
Yeah.
We've seen it the last couple of weeks in Tier 3 here. We saw a safety car bonanza in Singapore, and we are about to see an overtake. It seems that Nitro Shooter was not interested in hearing what you had to say about sitting behind, and now the Haas and the Williams are going to be going blow for blow, toe to toe. But that's left Nitro Shooter now without DRS, and has also left him exceptionally susceptible to Andre Lopez, who slotted it up the inside and now takes control of the final podium position. The Red Bull on a charge and taking advantage of the mistakes of those in front.
Yeah, I mean, a great move there, completely capitalizing on Nitro's lack of DRS. I think strategically, if you're going into that turn 3, you might want to brake a little bit earlier than you normally would, so you can cross the DRS line last. Benny Phobos, I think, is going to retire in the pits there.
Yes.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Just doesn't go your way sometimes, I suppose. Andre Lopez, are we going to see him try and overtake Mano as well? If he feels like he's getting held up, maybe Nitro felt the same. If you feel like you can go that much faster, then why not go for a move? Especially if you can use ERS, you can break that DRS gap, and you can get a little bit more safety. So it's not out of the question. It is just risky because we saw Nitro that previous lap losing positions because of it. But at the moment, as there is a spin, I think Dehard Dimitrioglu braked a little bit too late going into that train, hitting the back of one of the cars and spinning around. That's unfortunate. It's not cost him too much as he's still in the DRS train, just a few positions behind.
Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that. I've already seen a few close calls of people nearly driving into the back of others. So maybe this is going to be a bit of a repeat performance here. Hopefully we don't see too much poor driving quality from it. But it is very easy to do. You've got so much more closing speed with the extra DRS zones on this track that it can catch you out, is what I'm trying to say. If you've not really been anticipating it, or you're coming in a little bit more, you got a few more kph on your clock than you have been on the previous laps, you might have to brake that bit earlier, or the person in front of you just brakes that bit earlier, or you're not anticipating how they're going to be braking because they at the front of the train might not have DRS. It's one of those things that can catch you out. And I hope here in a minute it doesn't catch Andre Lopez out, because he is looking mighty eager to be going for a move here on Menno Nielsen. Up the inside, tries and makes it work. He's passed clearly before they even get into the braking zone for turn 3. But this will give an opportunity now for Menno Nielsen to have the DRS on Andre Lopez. Andre Lopez, of course, now gives that up as he takes control at the front of this train, but gets a mega drive off of turn 3, and as such protects himself quite comfortably from the advancing Williams.
That move did take me back, actually. He had so much speed, obviously with the DRS and the ERS, so fair play to him. Andre Lopez has been one that's, I think, consistently, well, he's not so consistently, but he has been up there, more to luck, I think, than necessarily pace that we've seen so far. But today he's looking mighty quick, which I think is quite a not a surprise. I don't know, sort of course, it's not a surprise, but he is looking quicker than usual, I think, in relativity to the other drivers. So yeah, maybe Austria is just his track because he is looking rapid.
Yes, he is looking very good at the moment. Obviously making his way up 3 positions at the moment from his initial grid start position. Obviously there has been a bit of carnage to unfurl ahead of him, but aside from that, he is looking very, very good, like you say. But he is going to be consistently under threat. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to break this DRS. If we take a quick look at the ERS percentages, he himself has 35% ERS at the point of braking into turn 4. So I don't really think that's going to be enough to bridge the gap to Julian Klaffenbach, and I don't think it's going to be enough to break the DRS from Menno Nielsen, providing there is no mistake or squabble made between Nitro Shooter and Menno.
Yeah, I think Andre at the moment, obviously he wants to break that train because I think he's quick enough. It's just the DRS that's holding him back. That's probably why. Well, that is why he's using a little bit more ERS than I think Menno. But I think it's going to be a really difficult thing to do to break that gap. So I don't know. It only takes one mistake, to be honest, to lose quite a big gap. But yeah, no, we'll see. He's got lots of time, and obviously with the pit stops, that's going to give him an opportunity to try and go for some of those moves. I think we'll see moves as well before we get into the pit stops. Obviously, when you're in a train, you want to try and get to the nearer to the front of the train as possible, because that's going to give you much better chances of finishing higher up in the points later on in the race. Speaking of, Matteo Longe is all at the back of Nitro Shooter there, looking really like he wants to get past. So we'll see what he does. I think the pit lap's around lap 17 to 20 on here. So yeah, not too long to wait.
Yes, not too long to wait at all, and I'm going to be looking forward to seeing whether Matteo Longe is going to try and duff up Nitro Shooter for his teammates' benefit, of course. Lilian doesn't want his championship rivals getting all that much closer to him. And I think it is safe to say that at the moment, Nitro Shooter is definitely still in that championship hunt. But Matteo Longe, at the moment, well, he is looking, like you said, mighty spicy on the rear wing of this Haas. Not going to be using any ERS to try and close up to Nitro Shooter here, but it is going to be trying to make use of the slipstream as well as the DRS. Of course, whilst these cars don't necessarily have the best physics model, it is F122. It's not exactly like the most realistic racing sim. Slipstream still does play a pretty integral role, and now it looks like Matteo Longe is going to be going for the move here on Nitro Shooter. He's got it up the inside. Nitro Shooter being forced to the outside of the track, but it's all kept relatively clean for the time being. And Matteo Longe, with that shorter run in towards turn 6, manages to slot himself ahead before the corner even gets there. Nitro Shooter wisely concedes position, doesn't want to get in too much of a fight, lose too much time, or even risk damaging his car. So Matteo Longe driving like a man possessed at the moment.
Yep, looking very quick. I think you're right, in all honesty. It could just be trying to hold back Lilian's championship rivals. But then, again, we can't take it away from him. He's just a quick driver as well. So, yeah, we saw him in Singapore looking quick. I think he got a bit unlucky towards the end. But, yeah, no, looking very quick. I'm hoping we see a few more moves from the guys on this train. Maybe encouraging, or at least feeling a bit more encouraged after seeing that move by Matteo Longe. Andre Lopez up ahead, well, not under threat, but he has got Meno right behind him, so he's constantly under pressure. Nitro Shooter is looking like he wants to, well, I'm not sure, it's difficult to tell when you're in a train. It's difficult to read exactly how these drivers want to behave. As just watching Andres Franco there lose the rear end going into turn 4 there. But yeah, no, not too much going on at the moment, aside from this train.
I'll give you a little update though, Alex. Jack Humphreys and Lilian, who has just received a 3-second penalty, have caught up to the back of this train. So their earlier antics with one another have resulted in them now having the pace to catch back up with this train that have been tripping each other up and slowing one another down. So they are now very much within the fight. I would not be surprised to see somebody like Jack Humphreys in the McLaren going for maybe an earlier pit stop, shall we say, trying to get the undercut on the drivers ahead of him. Those medium tyres can do wonders if they are put in early enough. Of course, that middle sector especially, where traction and edge grip are so important, might be where he can make up a bit of time. Of course, if he's not in a DRS train, though, that is where the problem starts to lie, because you end up losing a lot of time just from not being on DRS with how many DRS zones there are in this track. Andres Franco said he made a mistake last time around on the exit of turn 4. It seems like he's made another one on the exit of turn 3 this time, and he's been very forcibly removed from the edge of the track by Deja Demircioglu, who gets a bit lit up in his own right, and that gives another invitation to Franco to try and come on back, but Franco gets the door slammed shut in his face. But I don't think he's going to take that as a no. I think he's going to continue to try and press on here. Franco looking like he has a bit of a bit between his teeth, a bone to pick with Demircioglu after that little move there into turn 4, 5 and 6. Well, no ERS really remaining on the Turkish driver ahead, but plenty in reserve for Franco. So we might get to see another overtake coming in shortly here.
Yep. Deha looking very eager to get past. He uses all of ERS to do that. So fair enough, but he's made a mistake at turn 1, and that's going to give Andres Franco pushed onto the grass, just giving enough racing room, and he's going to get ahead towards the braking zone, but it's not enough at the moment as Deha sends it around the outside. They're going to go side by side through turn 3. Deha's pushed almost off the track, but he's going to have the DRS now. They're going to go side by side again. Andres with the better exit, despite having more... Sorry, no, Andres getting the position. Having more ERS, using a little bit more. Deha's used all of his, and he's going to have to settle for P10 again. Yeah.
They're very lucky there, by the way. Oh no, Dehar's all over the place at the moment. Demercioglu can't seem to keep his car on the track properly. The rear is just stepping out. And now Lillian, who seemingly got ahead of Jack Humphreys in that last lap, is now again primed for the taking. I think he sees that there is some issues being had by this Alpine up front.
I think he's got damage. I think I saw his wing fly off when one of the overtakes happened.
No, his front wing looks fine from the outside point of view, but maybe there is bodywork damage or something from a bit of banging wheels. Maybe there is a little bit of mental damage from, you know, getting a bit flustered from all the overtakes that have been going on. It can happen. You can get yourself really worked up and as such overdrive even, if you will, into a position that you're not necessarily going to be comfortable with. And Demercioglu there tries to force Lillian really deep into a shallow angle in the corner. Doesn't end up working out for him, but he's still going to try and hold this one in there. Jack Humphreys is going to be looking at this going, what's going on with Demercioglu up front? I've got an opportunity here. If he gets another bad exit, I'm going to be right in there like swimwear. And all of a sudden, this race could be turning around for the fortunes of the two drivers who skittled each other out at the beginning.
Yep. Dehart is looking really scrappy. I don't know, maybe the adrenaline's high. Not 100% sure, but yeah, he is looking to struggle a bit more. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him maybe pit for the undercut.
Oh, Jack Humphreys is coming into the pits. Jack Humphreys is coming into the pits earlier than everybody else. I think he sees the risk that Demercioglu up front poses for him. Doesn't want to take that risk and get him past. And now he has pulled the pin. He, Miltos Karafalidis, and Noel Carman have all dove into the pit lane for those medium tyres, those softer compounds from the hards, and there will be a big tyre delta between the two. Of course, tyre warm-up is also going to play a big role around this track. There are not a lot of corners to get these tyres very warm on, so it will be difficult to get them heated up as quickly as you might like to on other tracks. So this is going to be a really big couple of laps here for Jack Humphreys to put his race back on the right track.
I agree. We'll also see the guys at the front if Andre Lopez can do something, because he's been lapping pretty much the same as Julian Klaffenbach. If this race is ever neutralized, or if Andre can do something with the strategy, I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to close the gap by a second or so. Obviously that's a big ask considering how close these guys are, but there is a bit of play, and I think Klaffenbach, you know, he can see the gap, he can see it staying the same. He might be feeling a bit of stress. We'll see as Felipe Sousa comes into the pits, as does Lillian, who is going to be looking to capitalize from earlier proceedings, and also to try and combat the undercut from Jack Humphreys. As you said, the cold tyres are not going to be helping Jack at all, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Lillian come out ahead provisionally. It's going to be close because they're going to be coming across the line. Jack Humphreys has just crossed the finish line. He's just put in a purple last sector as well. So those mediums looking very nice, and it's going to be very close to the come out of the pits. They're actually going to be pretty much side by side. Lillian with the better... I see Lillian's DRS. So he's going to be ahead.
These two can't get separated.
They can't be separated, but Jack Humphreys is going to be able to settle for P12 at the moment, at the least.
Yeah, he's got those warmer tyres at the moment. I mean, admittedly, this is an absolute godsend for Lillian, who otherwise would have lost touch to Jack Humphreys if he'd have come in a lap later. As such, he gets DRS on 2 separate occasions to keep himself in touch while these tyres come into the window. Oh, what's happened? What's happened?
Mateo spun round, got damage to his front wing. He's going to have to box.
He's taking out Menno.
Menno has also been spun round. I'm sorry, I didn't see exactly what happened. I just kind of went to the front to see who was pulling with the pits, and I saw Menno spun round. And Mayo and Matteo spun round. I don't know what happened, but that is mega unfortunate for those guys. That's cost them so much time. That is horrible. I mean, you know what? Kondovaker is now in P6. Let me check if he's pitted. He has pitted, so that is for position. And Jack Humphreys as well. He's in P8. He's just at the fastest lap of the race, and he's gonna potentially take P7 if he sends it on Kondovaker now. So Jack Humphreys really back into this race.
What is going on here?
P4 as he immediately gets the move done on Kondovaker, and that's going to cost Lillian. But Lillian with a lovely switchback to get the power down, get the DRS open, get the ERS on, and he's into P8. So a stunning comeback from these guys, be it luck, be it pace. But they are now provisionally 4th, 5th and 6th. I can't tell exactly what numbers, but something around there. So definitely back in the front battle. Julian Klaffenbach, Nitro Shooter coming into the pits. Now Andre Lopez decided to stay out for one more lap, which does surprise me, but he's going to have fresher tyres later on.
Yeah, well, I can't lie. I mean, that little accident between Menno and Matteo Longe is actually gifted like a 2-second buffer back to Nitro Shooter for Andre Lopez, so I don't think he's massively concerned about the undercut. I don't think the tyre delta is 2 seconds a lap faster at this stage in the race, especially with how short this lap is. So for Andre Lopez, I don't think he's too worried, but there is Nitro Shooter, who's just come back out ahead of Jack Humphreys. What an absolute leapfrog this has been from the McLaren driver, who pulls to the inside. He's going to look to try and send it, but Nitro Shooter's gone off the track, completely misjudges braking zone. He's going to come back onto the circuit, combating with Lillian, and now all of a sudden, Lillian is again fighting with Jack Humphreys. Where have we seen this before going into turn 4? Well, Humphreys has the inside line. He's covered it off nicely, but that, of course, will compromise his exit ever so slightly. Lillian still looking mercurial in the Alfa Romeo. Looks very nicely pointed as well to get some good positions back in this race, despite the earlier antics of both drivers. Lillian still pressing on here, and now with no DRS available to Jack Humphreys this time around, providing that he doesn't manage to miraculously catch Andre Lopez, this will be an opportunity now for Lillian to usurp back control of this chasing pack from Jack Humphreys. So we'll see what comes of it. Now, first straight completed. Nothing really going to happen on this one. It's too short to make an overtaking move. But now this one, the big long one with the kink of turn 2 in it. Up ahead, Andre Lopez furiously trying to warm up his tyres behind Felipe Sousa. But instead, it's no moves made by Lillian this time. But he is close enough now onto this third straight.
Yes, all very feisty there. I was just watching the two Ferraris up in front. I think there's a bit of team orders there. At least a bit on Julian's outlap there, just to give him a bit of DRS, or maybe that's just coincidental. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what Sven Schumacher is trying. He's going on. He's potentially praying for a safety car. That'll give him, you know, the sort of buffer he needs to pit and at least stay in this battle. But sorry, back to the action. Lillian P6 sat just behind Jack Humphreys. Andre Lopez has dropped all the way down to 4th. He was in 2nd. Obviously, Sven Schumacher still to pit, but Felipe Sousa. He started, what, like 19th? Sorry, 17th. I think he's in P3 right now, and that's not even provisionally. So that is provisionally. Sorry,
yeah, that's
P2
net.
is
That's
provisionally.
net P3.
Yes, sorry,
Yeah,
net
well,
P...
sorry, it's net P2, actually. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is crazy from Felipe Sousa. Absolutely has nailed it with the pit stops, not been caught in any kind of carnage. He's just kept his nose clean. And look at where it has left him. Speaking of leaving him, though, look at this from Nitro Shooter and Lillian. It is very tight on the exit. Both drivers have DRS, so it's again going to be another run down into turn 4. They're so close, they nearly touch each other. Up on the inside goes Nitro Shooter. Lillian is not going to let this one go, though. Pushed out a little bit, had plenty of racing room, so it's not unfair. And Lillian has to concede the point there, unfortunately. Doesn't get a chance to try and hang that one round the outside. Just didn't have the drive off of turn 4.
No, he didn't, and he's now in P7. Nitro Shooter, though, looking very feisty on the back of Jack Humphreys. I think Jack made a little bit of a mistake, got a little bit of oversteer, as he dropped a little bit back from Andre Lopez, but nothing significant. Sven Schumacher is now leading this train.
Still sticking in hell on the hard tyres, by the way.
25 odds. Probably hoping, well, yeah, hoping for a safety car at this point. I don't know why else he'd want to stay out. But Felipe Sousa has now got DRS to defend from Andre Lopez. I don't know if he's going to go for a move. Not really any moves at all going on. Jack Humphreys, though, is going to be out of the 1 second gap. That's going to be very important. We'll see if Sven Schumacher slows him down enough to close that again. But Jack Humphreys does not have DRS this time. Nitro Shooter does. We'll see if Nitro Shooter chooses to go for moves. Andres Franco retires. That's annoying. But Nitro Shooter going down the inside of turn 4. Nothing Jack Humphreys has to say about that. Maybe looking for a switchback, but not able to do anything. Sven Schumacher, Felipe Sousa also fighting up ahead as they go side by side through the middle sector. Andre Lopez also trying to capitalize on. Sven Schumacher is pushed off the track. Andre Lopez is now in P3. Felipe Sousa in P2. As Nitro Shooter is now in this battle, Sven Schumacher decides now is the time to pit. Andre Lopez looking all over the back of Felipe Sousa. Is he going to be able to do anything? We'll see as Lillian as... No, never mind. Game just told me the wrong thing. Sorry.
Schumacher's in the pits, that's all it was. I just want to point your attention to the back of the field here, where Matteo Longe and Menno Nielsen are at it again. They're currently ghosted inside of one another because they've been at it for so long. This is, yeah, not helping either of these guys. I think they're just racing for a grudge at this point in the race. It's still ghosted. This is all kinds of weirdness going on. Schumacher has come out behind the pair of these. I don't know what Schumacher's plan was, but in the end it has cost him over 5 seconds worth of race time. And now Matteo Longe and Menno Nielsen are both just having each other's lives at the back of this field. They're just racing for the fun of it, I feel, at this point. If a safety car comes, then they'll try their best not to kill each other on the restart, but for the time being, these two are providing some of the most entertaining fights on track, and it's not even for points. They're just running each other out of road. It's a bit of a grudge match. They've been side by side for practically 2 laps now, and they're not letting it go. It's just still continuing.
Yeah, why not? Why not have a bit of fun at the back if you're not really looking at points? It's all for a bit of fun. Back up ahead, not really too much going on. There is still
it's all calmed down now.
So we might as well stick with Longe and Menno. As Longe gets a 3-second time penalty for track limits, I'm sure he's going to be very disappointed.
I think, actually. Yeah, I think that's his second one. He already had one before that. So I think that's for Menno here. Sorry, for Matteo Longe here. He's just fighting for the fight of it, I think. Just like fighting for the hell of it. No real reason to be involved in this when you got a 6-second time penalty. It's not getting revoked, but he's still causing issues for the Williams driver. Look at this. This is great racing. Up on the inside, keeping it nice and tidy for the most part. They're trying to run each other out of road. It's not exactly friendly, but I wouldn't call it dirty either. Up on the inside again now for Menno Nielsen. He's going to just slot it up in turn 4. That's a bit tight. That's very, very tight. But again, both drivers keeping it clean. Turn 5 now, all flat out. Going to try and hang it around the outside of turn 6 for Menno. He's been in a situation not too dissimilar to this at the start of the race, and he came off better at that one. This time, though, look at this again! It's a turn 8 now. This is insane! It's been like 3 laps of this. Why is this the most entertaining battle on track, fellas?
I'm not sure, but they are keeping the tension high, the adrenaline high. Matteo Longe slips ahead of Menno for, well, I don't know. I don't think it'll be very long, given what we've seen these guys do. Menno also, Matteo Longe also flashing, so using all the DRS, really a bit of a dogfight here. As Menno opens the DRS, we'll see if he's gonna come back at him through turn 3. What a surprise! It does look like he's gonna try and do it. He pulls to the inside. As I've just gone through on camera, Matteo Longe hanging it around the outside, gonna maybe look at a switchback, but Menno defends very well.
Back to the front, something's happening.
What's he doing?
Felipe Sousa and Nitro Shooter are having a moment there. I know, they're really wanting to really kill our vibe as these guys... I can see it on the timing tower. They're still side by side. They've lost 3 seconds to Sven Schumacher in the last 3 laps. They are just hanging each other out to dry. Anyway, up the front, Nitro Shooter had a crack at Felipe Sousa. Let him know he was there. But in the meanwhile, Andre Lopez, like you mentioned before, got ahead. And now he's clearing off as well. It's just under a second, but unfortunately that's no DRS for Felipe Sousa on this occasion. Maybe he'll get it up the run to turn 3. This is where we've got to focus back in at the front. I'd love to go back to that fight at the back, but at the moment we've got a podium place to decide here, fellas, because now Nitro Shooter has DRS, of course. And Felipe Sousa is kind of in and out of that DRS range for the moment, and it seems just for now he's going to stay just inside of it. So we can head back down to our favourite twosome at the back of the field that's about to become a threesome with Sven Schumacher entering the party. And that's certainly going to be very exciting when he arrives.
It is. I'm just keeping an eye on the front, guys, because I don't want to miss anything. Lillian looking all over the back of Jack Humphreys. Maybe he's trying to have a pass sometime soon. Felipe Sousa looking to be back in DRS. Matteo Longe and Menno are going side by side again. You know what? Why not? Let's watch it.
Can't help themselves.
There's a little bit of touch in there between the two. They're still going side by side through the middle sector. You know what? This should be pay-per-view with the entertainment that it is. Menno just slipping behind Matteo Longe for the time being. I will look back ahead at the front and see if Nitro Shooter is going to be interesting. Anything. Felipe Sousa just in DRS, but Nitro Shooter has got a good run on him. Are we going to potentially see him move? I think he'll back out. You know what? He might send it, and he does send it into turn 3. What's a move from very far back? They go side by side through turn 3. It's all about who can get the power down quick enough. Nitro still has DRS. He's got the traction. He's got the straight line speed, and that is Nitro Shooter up into P3 in this race, and he's still within the DRS of Andre Lopez. What a move from Nitro Shooter, completely capitalising on the situation there. Back behind Matteo Longe and Menno still fighting each other. Sven Schumacher's now in that battle. We will go back to that at some point.
Oh my
It's
God.
actually going around the outside. You know what? Yeah, let's go to it. There's nothing going on. Matteo Longe round the outside through turn 4, getting the traction down, but Menno is side by side once again. Menno just trying to hold it there. At this point, I feel like they're both sat in their chairs, just laughing at how fun this is for the two of them.
Gotta be, but you can't help but think now that Sven Schumacher's there, it's going to end in tears.
I thought he was going to go 3 wide then. Not quite, but they are still going side by side. Sven Schumacher set the fastest lap of the race, used his whole battery for that. So, you know, big job on him. And he's now going to go for a move.
Oh, no.
And maybe even Matteo, nope, he does back out of that as they go side by side again.
Oh my goodness, this is mental. These guys are absolute psychos. They just love it, don't they? They can't get enough of it. They're going to go 3 abreast into turn 3. Oh no, they're not. Oh, what's going on? The switchback. Matteo Longe covering the inside. Sven Schumacher looking for the run on the pair of them. Oh, Menno's been run out of room. Oh, you just can't help but feel like it was all going to end in tears at some point when a third party got involved. And now look at this. Sven Schumacher, he's back ahead. He's going to try and clear off now. He's clearly had a bit more pace, but he doesn't want to get caught fighting these guys. They might just try and suck him into the fight, though. They don't care. They've got 8 seconds to the next car, and that's because it's all self-inflicted. They came out of the pits about 5 seconds behind, and they've lost 3 seconds overall with all this scrapping, and that's even with Noel Carman, who's not having the best race of himself just here, and he's not even got DRS on the cars in front either, so that's a 3-second gap in about 5 laps. Mental stuff. Anyway, back at the front, mental stuff is unfolding again because Jack Humphreys has done a move on his fellow McLaren teammate and he's gone up the inside of Felipe Sousa into turn 3. He's made it stick well before the braking zone and now he sets his sights keenly on the Haas of Nitro Shooter, who in his own right has lost out on the DRS. And now look, Lillian's coming through too. It's a big scrap at the back of the field, or in the middle of the field here. Lillian desperately trying to push it round the outside, and this time he's absolutely sticking with it. Wheel banging with Felipe Sousa, and Sousa has to give way. No ERS to try and defend against Lillian. The unstoppable force is trying to push his way on through. The Frenchman not waving a flag for surrender this time. He's ready to fight, stand and deliver. Jack Humphreys now also looking very feisty to get onto the back of Nitro Shooter, who in his own right has some work to do to catch that man in front. Andre Lopez needs to get that DRS back to Nitro Shooter if Shooter wants to stand any chance of standing in that 3rd place podium spot at the end of this race.
Yep, he's got to get the power down, he's got to get the ERS on, which he seems a bit reluctant to do, which is fair enough given how much he actually has. We'll see if Jack Humphreys has anything to say about this. We know Jack very quick in qualifying. That's behind him. Felipe Sousa and Corn the backer. They're fighting through turn 3. They do touch. Felipe Sousa forced onto the curb. He's lost so much time from that. Nitro Shooter also looking a little bit under pressure still from Jack Humphreys, but Jack choosing to stay behind. Lillian as well, waiting very patiently to see if anything can happen. I think Felipe Sousa is still in the DRS. He's all good. He was just forced on the curb and lost a little bit of time. Our favourite battle is still going on. It's now a 3-way dogfight. As Matteo Longe. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to keep talking about this, but Matteo Longe going down the inside of turn 4, really showing that will to fight, that will to have just a bit of fun when the race isn't going too well for him. He's going to try and hang around the outside, not quite able to do it. But at the moment, it is P12, 13 and 14 for Schumacher, Longe and Houston respectively.
And this is going to continue to be crazy, I think, and it will probably not cease until the sun goes down. As it is, oh my God, it's all kicking off.
Mercioglu just sent it into turn 1 and pretty much drifted around the corner.
I know. Mercioglu's been on some other pack tonight, to be fair. He's been out of control for most of the evening, yet still sits in P8. Noel Carman, actually, is just making moves on Liam Stevens here at the top of the hill. This is another little scrap that's going on. These two have been gently plugging away. I don't think they've really, it's safe to say, had the same pace as one another or the rest of the field this week. They have proven in time gone by that they are drivers that should be contended with for those forward positions. But just this week, maybe the luck hasn't fallen their way, the strategy, the qualifying, whatever it might be, it just hasn't been their week. Unfortunately. But back at the front, Nitro Shooter is really putting in the numbers here. really trying to press on to the back of Andre Lopez, was just over a second behind at the finish line, and still now just 1.1 tenths of a second behind. It's really, really tight for that DRS at the moment. Jack Humphries will be waiting to see if there's the latest available opportunity. In fact, let's check in with their ERS stats as well. Nitro Shooter burned his battery to try and get back inside that DRS, and he has just momentarily done it on the way into turn 3. But the DRS detection zone, of course, Alex, is before turn 3, and as such, he will not have it for the straight run down to turn 4. Now, Jack Humphries has about 30% battery, and when you're in that DRS, the battery recovers much, much quicker than when you're outside of it. So that's something to keep in mind here, as Jack Humphries just stays behind, keeps his powder dry, and holds on to that ERS use for just the right moment when that DRS and ERS are going to be required.
It is only 3 laps to go after the end of this one. It is incredibly close as... Oh, I thought we saw a battle. It was just the guys at the back again, still going at it. Yeah, it's a difficult one. Filippo Sousa is out of the DRS now. So P3 to P6, all covered by about a second. Nitro Shooter, I don't think is going to be able to get back in the DRS, and Jack Humphries is going to want to capitalise on that. He's got a great run, and he's going to try and look down the inside of turn 3. He's done it at the braking zone. They're going to go side by side into turn 3. Nitro Shooter going for the switchback, but Jack Humphries is able to do it, and Jack Humphries is now into P3. And he's also going to have a look at Andre Lopez. The gap is not too big. I think Andre Lopez made a bit of a mistake coming out of turn 3. I saw him get a little snap of oversteer, so that's allowed Jack Humphries to get a little bit closer. If he can just push, if he can just get that little bit more of the tyres out of the ERS, he could try and get into Andre Lopez's DRS, but it's going to be close, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. As I said, Nitro Shooter losing control of the car, nearly spins it round turn 8 or 7 or 6, I don't even know what that was, but has just managed to maintain it, but that might have cost him a look at Jack Humphries, although Jack Humphries still not in the DRS despite the amount of ERS that he is using to try and catch up to Andre, and he might have it now. It's still not quite there. It's very much borderline. He's going to get the power down. He's going to again use the ERS. I mean, Andre Lopez isn't using ERS. I don't think he's too bothered, but if he's going to do it, Jack Humphries needs to do it now. But he's got no battery to work with, and that's going to put him vulnerable for the final podium position in the last couple laps of this race. Lillian also looking to get past Nitro Shooter. Remember, he has a time penalty. He's not really going to be in the battle, but he's got a good run. He might even go for a move it. Not quite close enough yet, but Lillian looking very feisty. Jack Humphries, though, is back into Andre Lopez's DRS. You know what we could see here? We could see a last lap move from Jack Humphries for P2, which would be insane. The gap's only around 7 tenths. Even behind him is Nitro Shooter in 4 tenths behind, and Lillian 4 tenths behind. So it's very close between them. It really is anyone's call as Julian Klaffenbach come around the final corner to start the final lap. We'll see as Andre Lopez is just 8 tenths in front of Jack Humphries. Jack Humphries has got 3 continuous... I can't remember the word for in a row. 3 respective DRS straights. But we'll see what Jack Humphries can do. Andre Lopez has significantly more ERS. Well, I say significantly, it's only by about 10%. We'll see if it's going to be good enough. We'll see if anyone is going to be able to do anything on the final lap of this Grand Prix. Jack Humphries through turn 3 needs to get the power down. This is going to be his last opportunity. And you know what? I don't think he's going to have done enough, because he's not got the ERS. He's not got anything to try and get ahead. And you know what? That is going to be Andre Lopez pretty much confirmed to get P2 now, which is fair enough, because he's driven absolutely brilliantly. Kornbacher is a little bit behind Lillian, who is in P5, Nitro Shooter P4, Jack Humphries P3, Andre Lopez P2, as we're entering the final sector of this Grand Prix now. Julian Klaffenbach entering the final couple of corners. He has pretty much led every lap this race, and it is going to be coming around the final corner, and it's Julian Klaffenbach who has dominated the Austrian Grand Prix at his home race. An amazing drive by him. Andre Lopez comes P2, Jack Humphries P3, Nitro Shooter P4, Kornbacher P5, and Lillian drops to P6 after his time penalty. What a race.
Yeah, truly a really good race, but you have to tip your hat to Julian Klaffenbach, who just destroyed the field from lights to flag, really. And now we've got these two coming over the line, having a bit of a squirmy spin, and it is going to be Matteo Longe at the end who, I think, ends up having that penalty that means that he does not get the better of Benno Nielsen, but on track he definitely did. So there it is. That's your Austrian Grand Prix, ladies and gentlemen. No safety cars, but plenty of carnage and plenty of action out on track as well. You know what? For a track with 3 DRS zones and for a track with a bit of a reputation of potentially being a bit dull sometimes in sim racing, that was really, really fun to watch. Really, really fun to commentate. But it is the man at home, Julian Klaffenbach, who wins his home Grand Prix and continues this trend of hometown drivers winning their home Grand Prix. Lilian, of course, last time out was the winner of the French Grand Prix, but this is a huge points shift in the championship now. Lilian finishing off the podium, off the top 2 steps of the podium, might I add, for the first time this season. So we'll end up seeing next week how that affects the championship, if there are any incidents to review. But Klaffenbach, I feel, is clear this weekend in Austria. Sorry.
Yep, what a race. That's gonna affect the championship a little bit. I remember Lilian before this race has a 19-point gap to Noel Carmen. To be fair, Julian Klaffenbach is quite a big gap. It's about 35, 36 points behind, but that is certainly closer for sure. And I don't think it's impossible that Klaffenbach can get back into the championship fight, especially with a drive like that. But yeah, that was a very entertaining race. Probably one of the most entertaining that I have commentated. So yeah, a big props to all the drivers, and I can't wait for next week.
Yeah, next week is going to be very, very fun indeed. But that's been it from us this week at Tier 3. Thank you very much for joining us. Please join us again, same time next week for, I don't know what the race is next week, actually. Azerbaijan, Baku, the city circuit. Well, be sure to join us for that. It should be a banger. We'll see you then. See you next time. Have a good week.
Goodbye.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega, proudly supporting PSGL.